can open up the May Conservation Commission meeting.
So item number 1 is the minutes of April 29th.
Yep. I did not have time to review and edit minutes because I was out most of Thursday and Friday last week. So I recommend we continue that one to the next meeting.
Okay. Item number 2, 33 Laudervale Road.
Motion to open the public hearing, sir.
Second. All in favor, open the public hearing. Aye. All right, if you guys, could come on up and introduce yourselves to the record.
Leon, mic's on.
Should be.
Should be, yeah.
Okay. Eric Aboud.
And I'm Lori Aboud.
Aye.
I do have the affidavit and the receipts.
Okay.
Do you
I'll take those.
Yeah, Andrew. will take-
want the actual receipts, or do you just want copies?
If you have the copies, that's fine.
Perfect. All right. So we're here today. It's a proposed two-story addition. You can see it boxed on the side of the house there.
Yep.
16 by 16, office in the basement, and living space upstairs.
Okay. I guess, is there currently anything there on the site right now you're replacing?
The deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Replacing a deck.
And so the deck will be slightly reconfigured, no bigger than it currently is.
Yep.
But the addition will come out to basically the end of the deck, a little further past that,
Sure.
but well within the setbacks.
Okay. Is there anything else? You did a site visit, Andrew?
Yeah, and we did a RDA for this property, I believe, a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
Was it a fence or a driveway, right?
Driveway.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's existing deck and lawn area. It's about 75 feet from the salt marsh edge, which is across the street, about 30 feet from the flood zone. So this is on the Fore River. There's a lot of salt marsh up until you get to the actual river, so we're not within riverfront area for this project. So it's buffer zone only to the salt marsh, no buffer on the coastal floodplain. Pretty straightforward project. You guys, what was the foundation again? Was it a full foundation, or were you doing
No, it's on grade.
It's on grade? Okay. Yep. Yeah, I'd recommend a -3 determination with conditions for erosion controls and stockpiling of erodible materials. Other than that, I don't really have any concerns.
Okay. Are there any comments from anyone else on the commission? No. Any comments from anyone in the public?
Motion to close the public hearing, sir.
All right. Seconded.
You can second, please. You're the only other one.
Sorry.
All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to issue a -3 determination with the special conditions mentioned.
So moved.
All right. All in favor of issuing -3 determination with the standard
Aye.
order of conditions? Aye. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, item number 3, 52 Lintrick Drive.
Hello? Motion to open the public hearing, sir.
Second.
All right. All in favor of opening the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. All right. If you could just introduce yourself.
Sure, Mark, Kieran.
Hi, Mark.
You just second
We,
it.
Okay.
we're looking to add an addition, a 13 by 20 foot addition
Okay.
to the house. We do abut some wetlands, and we followed all of the procedures. We notified all of the abutters, et cetera, et cetera. And Andrew, I believe, did the site walk as well.
Yep. Yeah, so this is another small addition in a repeat customer here. They just did an RDA maybe just a year or two ago for a pool that was back there.
Okay.
This is a fenced-in backyard. It's all grass. The footprint of the addition, I believe, was an existing deck.
Correct.
Very similar to that last RDA. I'd recommend a -3 determination with conditions for erosion controls and stockpiling of erodible materials. Yeah, no other concerns really on my end for this project.
Okay. Any questions, concerns, issues from the commission? No?
Not from me.
All right. Any comments, questions from the public?
Motion to close the public hearing, sir.
Seconded.
Sorry.
All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to issue -3 determination along with any special conditions mentioned tonight.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
very
thank you
much.
very much. Nice and easy.
That's it. See you later.
Okay, item number 4, 19 Rantuel Street.
Good to go.
Yes.
Yep.
So, a little closer to the link, but
And this was continued from last month, so we're just picking up that public hearing.
Yes.
yeah,
Correct.
So we had continued because we hadn't received engineer's comments yet.
That's right.
I think about 90% of those comments were outside the 100-foot buffer, mostly having to do with the utilities for the existing structure
Sure.
out in the road. One thing that did change that we talked about was the gravel versus the pavement. Engineering really wanted to see it paved, so we did
Mhm.
that. We added berm to ensure that it doesn't flow off of the pavement.
Okay.
Collected by a catch basin that'll add treatment. It has a treatment unit inside it, and then discharges to the depression that we talked about. Engineering issued a letter saying that they were satisfied with the comments. There is one outstanding. It has to do with the water service for the structure. All of that work will be located in this area here, so well outside the 100-foot buffer. We
Okay.
agreed that we wouldn't leave that for conservation, that we deal with that with the building permit.
Sure.
But, outside of that,
Okay.
if you have any questions.
I mean, I think the biggest issue was, the comments from engineering, and I think you guys settled that the one thing that sort of overlaps with conservation. Not sure if you guys have any questions or comments on this. Seems pretty straightforward. All right. Any other comments, questions from the public? Okay.
We can close?
I think we can. I think at this point, we've got all the feedback and everything, so we just issue a standard order of conditions?
Yeah, at this point, I'm comfortable with issuing an order of conditions. The parking over the gravel, I think was a good call. It does provide some pre-treatment.
Yeah.
And this is within our watershed protection area, so that's a good thing. Beyond that, like I said earlier, the project largely, stays out of the buffer zones, respects the 50-foot no disturb for commercial. So I see a lot of the standard conditions that we have for commercial projects, as built, needed for submission of a COC, along with operation maintenance plan, all that good stuff. Beyond that, I'm good. Ready for an order.
Okay.
Motion to close the public hearing, sir.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to issue a order of conditions along with all the previously mentioned conditions.
All right.
This project.
All right. Seconded. All in favor of issuing a order of conditions?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much.
Have a good night.
You too.
Your
Thank you.
persistence.
Okay, item number 5, Jackson Square redevelopment.
Hi. How are
Guess
you?
we have to open this.
Yes, we have to
public
open
hearing.
up. Yeah.
Motion to open the public hearing.
All right. All in favor of opening the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. Hi. You just introduce yourself, please.
I'm Chris Lucas with Lucas Environmental. I'm professional wetland scientist and certified wetland scientist. I'm here with Susan Spratt from Mackenzie Engineering.
Yep.
And we also have Jerry Kavanaugh with the developer.
Yep.
Do you want a little recap here, or do you
Yeah,
want the
I
short
mean,
version? It's been a while, but I'm
take-
happy to.
Yeah. I mean, I think the short version is fine. I mean, I
Short
think.
version?
Yeah.
Okay.
What you guys want?
Oh, no,
No.
sure, it's
Yeah.
good.
You want the short? Okay.
That was perfect, thank you.
There you go. Approved.
Yeah.
Where, as you recall, you issued the order in January of 2024. We're here for some project amendments. As you recall, we had 4 different sites overall on the project, Site A, B, C, and D shown here. We're here tonight for an amendment formally requesting some modifications to Sites A and B. Site A is outside of the resource areas, but the stormwater is discharging into it, and it was part of the original order. Site A, primarily the revisions on Site A. You can scroll down to the next page. You want to zoom out a little bit there. Thank you. So most of the revisions here, you can scroll down a little more. Were due to the reconfiguration of level field.
Yeah.
It does work on your screen. It's the first screen this has worked on. Usually it just fades out. They're reconfiguring the access into level field, basically to create a roundabout. So there'll be access here into the building here. This is the existing parking lot, and then the other parking here. So they've created a roundabout, which required reconfiguration of sites A and B.
Yep.
Site A, the changes involved relocating the garage entrance about 45 feet northwest and shifting the subsurface infiltration system about 35 feet northwest. We can get into the details, but that's the general revisions on Site A. Site B was a bit more involved. The most substantial change on this site was along the river. We had to relocate the transformer and the transclosure to this location. And that involved, we looked at several alternatives inside the building, other locations, but there's a series of requirements. Because I know Fisheries inquired about this. You know, the equipment has to be located on the property. We can't put it on town land and have an easement.
Yep.
Has to be, well, doesn't technically have to be, but we wanted it, we originally had it sited over in this area, but we moved it so it's more than 20 feet from the river to maintain that buffer. It has to be a minimum of 10 feet from any of the openings in the building. That is a requirement. And the transclosure has to be at least within 10 feet of the transformer. So the transformer is located here, and the transclosure is here, and it's surrounded by crushed stone. And then there'll be an access easement here for the utility to have, because they need direct access onto the property to access that. We had looked at configuring utility run through here, but it can't go under the deck, and we didn't want to impact the mitigation, nice mitigation area we had approved previously. So we're going to be running it through here and out towards the level field entrance. The other change along the brook that we also have here is the 6-foot patio was at grade. That's been redesigned to accommodate the building and the first floor space, so it's actually going to be proposed as a deck on sonotubes now. Same dimensions, just raised up slightly.
Okay. And how far above grade?
26, about 3.5, 4 feet.
Okay.
4 feet, so better than being at grade. So people will be able to look down.
And is it still intended to be public?
That's my understanding. It'll be public space for the. It'll be space for the residents.
For the people going to the restaurant.
Right.
Okay.
And so that was that. There's we reconfigured the garage entrance at the back of the building to include a paved area for the restaurant deliveries. The subsurface infiltration system was relocated. And there's a 4-foot wide cement concrete sidewalk was added along the northeast side of the building. The reconfigured raised handicap ramp entrance to the building at Broad Street was changed, and they lowered the garage entrance from elevation 21.5 to 21. And then some downspouts and a closed drainage system were added to capture the roof runoff from the northeast back portion of the roof and direct it to the proposed system in level field. So, so overall, not a significant change. We have, this portion of the site had no impacts to the floodplain. We have no impacts to resources other than riverfront. There's no work in the bank or in land underwater.
Yeah, and the stormwater requirements are still the same.
Correct, right. New stormwater report's been submitted, and speaking with Andrew, we understand DPW will be reviewing this. And we don't foresee any issues there, but we understand it has to go through the formal review.
Yep.
The riverfront numbers, we've recalced everything. I don't want to bore you with the numbers. They're in the notice of intent. The numbers did shift a little bit, but we still fully comply with the onsite and the offsite mitigation that we've proposed. So they've shifted around a little, but we're still fully compliant with the redevelopment performance standards. And we still have, again, the mitigations proposed here. We still have the commitment to the landscaping along this side, along Nico's and the town parcel. So that hasn't changed. We just had to reconfigure some of that here. We have some other pages showing the landscaping, but that's just details I don't think we need to get into. With that, we're happy to answer any questions and get into the weeds further if you'd like.
I guess, yeah, I mean, the bulk of this is mostly, is it a response to the addition of that roundabout, or is there, building forces that pushed you to, for the deck and some of the other, obviously the transformer is kind of its own item.
Yeah, the reconfiguration of level field drove a lot of this, because they had to change and reconfigure entrances and,
Sure.
and whatnot, which shifted the infiltration, so it was kind of that snowball effect.
Yeah, with working with planning, they determined that they really weren't, they didn't like the way the entrances were initially proposed off of the entrance to level field. They
Sure.
were kind of right across from one another.
Yeah,
And then the park department wanted some mitigation because they find it during the heavy soccer events, there's some turning movement conflicts and things like that. So working with planning and with the traffic, Kimley Horn, we came up with this roundabout solution
Okay.
that would accommodate traffic on heavy soccer events and would provide the direct access to each building, but not overtax the entrance to level field.
all right.
And then that snowballed into the transformer being relocated to this
Yep.
location due to that. We just don't have the space here with the openings. We looked in this area, it doesn't work. Inside the building, we don't have the height in the garage level.
Right, yeah, you need, 14 feet?
Yeah, we don't have the height sufficient to put it in there.
Okay.
So, the only other locations would be further closer to the brook, like we said, it was originally thought to put here, but we pulled it back so it's more than 20 feet away. And then we're still 14, this hasn't changed, so we're still 14 feet from the brook to the deck, and then we have a larger area up here along the brook. And again, the shade trees, all that, nothing that really hasn't changed.
You guys providing any plantings at the transformer to kind of mask that off?
On the backside.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, but this is crushed stone, so there'll be nothing in there, and we can't put
Yep.
anything in there anyway.
Yeah, between the transformer and the
right.
transclosure.
Right.
But on the side, looking towards the
Yeah,
Hammond
the
Road.
public side.
Yeah,
Okay.
that will be
Right.
All right.
planted.
Yeah, we have the landscape plan if you want to take a peek. It's in the presentation here.
Further down.
That's the first sheet. Yeah, I think it's this one. Nope, that's our
Nope.
next one, sorry. One more. There you go.
Oh, okay.
So we have a robust planting plan. It's fairly similar to what was before. MDLA modified this to account for this being here. Like I said, we originally were looking to put the utility under the deck. We were told we can't do that. So then there was talk of putting it here, which we didn't love because
Yeah,
obviously you
'cause
can't
then you're
plant
right
on
in
top
the-
of it.
Yep.
So you're going to lose more space, and it has to be in a concrete encased duct.
Yeah, duck bank.
So it's been relocated, so it'll come through this direction down towards there.
And is
So
that-
that's a much
I
better.
mean, that's a
option.
network transformer to serve all the buildings, right? Or is it just for that one site?
The trans will only service Building B.
Okay.
Building A has its own transformer,
Okay.
which is located off of Broad Street to the left, to the left of the building. If you're looking at the building to the left,
Okay.
it has its own
Oh,
transformer.
it's a pole mounted?
Yeah.
Pad mounted.
Okay.
And this is the 100-foot riparian, and this is the 200-foot here, so you can see that kind of cuts into the axis, so Site A is completely out of it.
Yep.
Except for the stormwater discharges.
Okay.
And also, the town did request additional parking, because some parking was being removed with the roundabout.
Sure.
So you saw in the initial aerial, there's
That's it.
10
Back
spaces
up
up
to the aerial in
to
there.
the upper left.
Yep.
Keep going
I
right
thought that
there.
was your computer. Is that birds up there?
Yes. Does that show the parking there?
Keep going.
Yep, it's on that
There
sheet,
it is, right there.
right there.
Yep. Scroll.
Down.
There
So
it
you can
is.
see
Yeah.
additional parking there. That was requested by the Parks Department and the town
Okay.
to mitigate for the spaces that were being removed.
Lost from the roundabout. Sure.
They also, if you notice, there's parking up in the upper left near the tennis courts.
Mm-hmm.
That's taking over a wider, it's like a 10-foot wide sidewalk. So not adding any more pavement, it's just repurposing a sidewalk
Existing
parking.
impervious. Okay.
And also, the park department asked for widening. As you can see, from that additional parking that we're adding at the tennis courts, they wanted the road widened 2 to
Yeah.
4 feet because there's some, during heavy events
You
conflicting.
get two-way traffic.
So, so we did that as part of their request.
Okay. Is there anything that you guys had talked about, Andrew, or any other information?
No, that's a good recap. Overall, I don't think the project has significantly
Yeah.
changed, but because the stormwater had changed, I do feel it should be an amended order of conditions, which is appropriate. We're waiting on DPW to do a review of the stormwater. We've been working with the applicant pretty closely over the past couple months through this
Yeah.
design process, so nothing here is really a surprise on our end. Division of Marine Fisheries has been provided with an update of this. I don't think they're going to have any issues. They had some questions about the transformer, which Chris responded to, but they haven't provided a formal review or comment letter yet. So I expect we'll see something
Okay.
from them. It'll probably just reflect the time of year restrictions that were in the first one. Yeah, beyond that, I think it's in pretty good shape. The performance standards for Riverfront are still met. I really don't have any other concerns with it.
Okay. Any other concerns from the
I just
commission?
have, the new transformer, that fence that goes along the herring run, are you replacing that fence?
The existing fence along the edge of the
It
brook
goes
now.
from Broad Street.
I think that fence is going to remain, but we're adding a different type
Scroll
of
down a little
fence
bit,
in
Andrew.
front of the fence, if that makes, as
Oh,
I saw in the landscape
fence
plan.
in front of the
A
fence.
fence in front of a fence. That's what it shows on the landscape plan. I'm
And-
not sure if it's like, is it a board fence, Jerry? It might be one of the board slat fence
Yeah.
for more privacy. I'm not sure.
Now, there is an access gate to the right of that transformer,
Or that will remain, we won't be touching that.
and we'll still have access to
Yes.
the herring run from
That
that?
is correct.
Okay. That's all I had then.
All right. Do we have a timeline on when we'll be getting comments back from engineering?
Yeah, the idea is to get comments back with enough time for the applicant to respond to any comments
Okay.
prior to the June 24th meeting.
Yeah.
DPW is down 2 out of 4 of their staff right now, and they're pretty busy, so they weren't able to get it for this meeting, but
Okay.
I believe we should be in good shape for the next one.
All right. So are you guys okay being continued to next month while we wait for those comments?
Yeah, they prefer to close tonight, but we understand that's not feasible, so,
Can
yeah.
I ask a quick question
Sure.
about that? And whatever you guys need to do, we're okay with.
speak into the microphone. Oh, you have to
Sorry,
come up
Jerry.
to
You
the
gotta,
mic, Jerry.
yeah, you gotta come up.
If we were, would we be held up from being able to do some cut and caps and demolition and things like that before June 23rd?
I don't think so, because you already have an existing order of conditions and an existing, decision.
Yeah.
It's an amendment, but I
Yeah.
mean, are those cutting caps like reacting to any of these changes, or are they just
No.
standard cut? So I don't think so.
Yeah,
Because you would have had those regardless of whether you made these changes or not.
that's correct.
I don't know if you guys agree with that or.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it shouldn't
correct.
Hold you up. The only thing that holds you up here, is the time of year restriction. So whatever you want to do, we should just talk and, vet that what you're doing is
Well,
not in
no,
conflict
Bob
with-
Longo waived all the time of year restrictions.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
We
May try.
we understand that.
Yes,
Yeah,
I know.
We understand that.
Yeah, but I think generally speaking, I think you can execute the scope normally other than these handful of changes. Which
Yes.
I think you're, a while away from getting the transformer installed and any of that other kind
Oh,
of
yes,
stuff.
of course, of
Certainly won't
course.
happen between now and then next month.
No. And I'm not sure that we're going to do anything between now and next month, but
Right.
we're pushing and pushing and pushing to get started. and
Sure.
the town's working very closely with
Yeah.
us, so, yeah.
But no, I would agree. I think you can proceed with the cut and cap work.
Yeah.
Without,
Okay.
without these changes and
All right.
and I guess the other question I had, Andrew, is there any mechanism by which we could make the approval of this amendment a staff level thing pending the engineering comments? I mean, I think that the commission, I don't think there's any issues with the amendments to this, are there?
No.
So,
We have conditioned approval or put in a condition that they have to respond to any DPW
Okay.
comments on other things. I think generally my preference would be to not and to allow the DPW review to take
Okay.
place, just because that's
yeah, I mean,
standardly
I
how
don't
we do
foresee
it.
it changing things, but,
Um,
yeah.
But in some cases, we have done that.
Sure.
Typically, that's if there are some minor outstanding comments. Normally, it's not pending a full review of the stormwater, but
Okay.
the mechanism is there.
As long, we're thinking about maybe cut and cap, maybe some abatement work inside the buildings, the buildings
Yeah,
that
but
that are
all
gonna
that's
come
that's
down,
normal
yeah.
work that you would
Yeah,
have
yeah.
done regardless of these
Yes.
changes. So I agree. I don't
Yeah.
think that would affect
Okay,
this.
yes, thank you very much.
Would be
Thank you.
affected by this. So,
Make a motion to continue this hearing until June 24th.
All right, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is that fence gonna be big enough to keep the herring from jumping into the eating area?
Say that, what's that?
The herring jumping out of the river, you know?
Oh, yeah. That'd be impressive, that drop.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
item
you, guys.
number
Have a
6.
good Memorial Day.
Spring run update.
Herring run update. Well, the herring are pretty much done on the in-migration. We've got about 302,000 fish that made it up. That's a guess at the moment because we don't have all the information from the electronic counter. The out-migration is well underway, and
Oh.
it's amazing to watch them heading downstream, even though they're heading upstream. Yeah.
Fast.
But the juveniles should be heading out at some point. They opened the gate to South Cove, so they were able to get into South Cove and the Swamp River. So that's a good thing.
That's a great thing.
Yeah.
That's great. Wow.
And the rain came just when it needed to.
I thought the decision was to keep the gate closed.
It was until we got all that rain. And then it was overtopping the stop logs on the left side of the sluice.
I
So
see.
the herring were getting up anyway.
Right,
And then Braden said, we got enough water with all this rain that we'll open the gate, and
okay,
so.
all right.
Scott, the intent was to have a screen that would prevent fish from overtopping, but we didn't get to it in time, and
Okay,
the fish beat us to it.
Yeah.
all right, I understand
The weather
now.
cooperated, so
Yep.
yay.
All right, item number 7, conservation report.
Yep, not too much new here from the last one. Some ongoing construction with 158 Park Ave West is relatively finished up. That's the 3-building development down there where Park Ave and Columbian meet. They will be in next month for a COC. I wrote OOC, sorry, but that's a certificate of compliance. Nothing really new for compliance and enforcement or complaints. Other projects, there's kind of been 3 projects in the queue here for quite a few months. So the Snup Dam, we've officially been awarded now a grant that will cover the remaining funding for construction. That's about $180,000. So total project cost is going to be about $380. 50 of that is going to go to construction oversight. So a project cost of about $320, $330 we're anticipating. The project has gone out to bid, and that just happened last week. So bids will be coming in the next couple of weeks. We'll finalize the contract with the state, and we should be good to get into construction this July. Wow.
Wasn't there a walkthrough today?
There was, yep.
Okay.
That was a pre-bid meeting that we had.
Awesome.
Well attended.
Yeah, yep. 14 companies have pulled papers, and I think we
Wow.
had 6 in attendance.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's,
What we're hearing, projects are slowing down, so
Yes.
people are pretty eager
Going
to
back to municipal.
look around and jump on anything that's coming.
excellent.
So yeah, that's on track, and we expect that to be finished up by the end of October.
Whoa.
We're still working to finalize a contract for the Mill River study with GZA. That got over some legal hurdles, and now we're just kind of waiting for final signatures on the administration end. So that is going to kick off. That will be a lengthy project. I expect that's going to be a 6-month project or so. And again, I think that's something that you guys will have an interest in. So as we kind of get the project kicked off, I'll definitely be reaching out to you guys, just keeping you up to date. And if you want to jump in on meetings or be involved, please let me know.
I want to walk through that tunnel under Walmart.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think they're going in there. Yeah, that was specifically called out that they can't go into any underground tunnels or anything like
Okay.
that.
Safety?
People?
Yeah, because of safety. Yep, for GZA. Yeah.
Oh. We're going to send a drone in there or something?
I don't know what they're going to do in lieu of that, but they're going to do whatever they can outside of sending people up into there to assess it.
That's too bad.
Yeah,
That'd be a fun walk.
I'm sure it
Well,
would
still
be.
go. You just don't go with them.
That's true, too. Never mind. Scratch that, will you, Seth?
Rewind.
Whitman's Pond Management, we're still finalizing our consultant for this upcoming year. That's been a slow process, but bids have been in, and we're just now working through the selection process. No new utilities, no planning department reviews, a few other things. We again have a summer intern this summer, and the only office I think that has an intern. The department or the administration did not run the program last year, but we found some funding, and I was able to find funding again this year. So I'm excited to have someone on, even if it's just 1 day a week for the next 3 months or so.
That's good.
I also heard from TRC, which is the consultant working with the MBTA on the Durante project, that they are targeting to have a notice of intent filed for June meeting. So we may have that before us. That would be really good.
Yeah.
It's been waiting for a year or two on that one. That's about it. The next meeting, June 24th. We have a few continued items, a few new things that are queued up. So we'll definitely have a decent agenda for that meeting. That's all I got for you.
All right.
Motion to close. Adjourn,
Second.
I'm sorry. Motion to adjourn the
Second.
meeting.
All in favor of adjourning until next month?
Aye.
Aye.